If you didn't know, we got a London game this week. It is over Vikings and the Saints in this one. As we are sitting here, we did get a final injury report in this one. Again, recording this early on Friday morning, so not going to get full injury reports for everything here. So we'll just kind of talk mainly what we think is going to happen in the game. And of course, you'll have to react to any late-breaking injury news. But this one we did get. And Jameis Winston is doubtful. Michael Thomas is out for the New Orleans Saints in this game. With that, we've seen any 2.5s that were still available gone. The 3s are there, and then now the 3s are juiced. We've seen it kind of bounce back and forth a couple of different times to 3.5 in favor of the Vikings. Adam, if we look at this one was one of the games that I jotted down over the week. The past one was the Thursday night game, in which when I see just some anomalies happen, I'll write down the game. I'll see what the line opens at. And if I think that there's too much going on, then I bet the game. So with the Saints, I'm sitting there watching the game. Jameis is playing like garbage. Looks like he's hurt. Michael Thomas leaves the game with an injury. Jarvis Landry leaves the game with an injury. So I write down like, hey, what's the Saints-Vikings line going to open at? Sure enough, it opens at 1.5. I take the Vikings at 1.5, and I feel really good about it. Now, that being said, we are not seeing a huge reaction to the news of it going from Jameis to Dalton. And I think maybe I was a little bit overzealous on that line that I got because the injured Jameis, I guess, was baked into that line as opposed to me thinking that I got one over on people out there. That being said, it looks like this will probably settle at 3.5 when it's all said and done because the general public hasn't heard this news yet. They're not living on Twitter like we are. So what do we think here about Vikings and Saints with Andy Dalton at the helm with no Michael Thomas?
Well, I think beyond the market baking it in, I think our eyes can tell us that an injured Jameis Winston was not a whole lot better than whatever is going to be behind him, right? Even when we saw Jameis going well this year, we saw it for one quarter. That's it. We saw Jameis have one good quarter against the Atlanta Falcons, and everything else we've seen from Jameis Winston has been terrible thus far this year. So I don't know that the market thinks it can get a lot worse. I think the question in this game becomes a whole lot more about, can the Saints defense keep them in this game? And I think that question comes down to, what's Kevin O'Connell feeling about what he wants out of his offense? Are they going to throw the football, and they're going to throw the football with any sort of regularity in a way that doesn't allow them to get down multiple scores the way they did against the Detroit Lions? So, I don't know that the Jameis situation is going to make a whole lot of difference. I didn't get involved in this game. I made the number 2.5 in the first place. So yes, obviously 3.5 is a significant difference from that, but I'm not rushing to the window to bet New Orleans plus 3.5 without the home field advantage and with Michael Thomas now out.
Yeah, look, the Dalvin Cook situation looks like he's going to go anyway, but that didn't even come into effect when I was like handicapping this game. Alexander Mattison might be the best backup in the league, and the drop off is minimal, if any, whenever he's in the game. So that didn't come into the handicap at all for me. The one thing that really did here, Stephen, is that Kirk Cousins' passer rating in a clean pocket is 94.7, and under pressure it is 61.8. So obviously, if you can make Kirk uncomfortable, then he is not near as good as he is whenever you can just give him a clean pocket. Fortunately for him, the Saints here in 2022, this defense, even though the defense has been fairly solid, 31st in pressure rate, 28th in sacks, and only 5 teams in the NFL blitz less than the Saints do. So I think Kirk Cousins is going to have a nice pocket to throw from in this game to take advantage of having all of those weapons that he's got. KJ Osborne has kind of like started to show up a little bit for them as well. So that was the big thing for me as well. Not only the injury situation for the Saints, but I think Kirk Cousins isn't going to be under duress very much here. And when he's not, he is literally one of the very best passers in all of the NFL. And so if that's the case, then I think advantage Vikings here.
Yeah, I don't have a strong opinion on this game. I know our lead writer, Eli Hershkovich, agrees with you, Matt. He also took the Vikings to cover less than a field goal before this injury news with Jameis Winston. I do think that there's matchups for each offense to take advantage of. You talked about the deficiencies in pressure for the Saints defense, but I also think the Vikings defense hasn't shown a lot either. They are 26th in early down success rate. The Saints offense, for their lack of explosiveness, is top 10 in early down success rate. So I do think Chris Olave is an elite route runner and an emerging rookie star at wide receiver that could take advantage of the Vikings DBs here. So not a strong opinion for me, but you are not alone with our lead writer also liking the Vikings. And obviously, as always, you can go to the site and find his write-up on why he likes the Vikings.
If you can get to this, and depending on when you get this video, I mean, this is certainly going to get adjusted, but a big upgrade for Alvin Kamara in the passing game here. And so any props for Kamara before they start to run, maybe you want to get in on. Jameis Winston just doesn't check the ball down. He just doesn't do it. That's just not in his game. Andy Dalton does. And so this is a big upgrade from a receiving standpoint for Alvin Kamara. So just something, if you do get this in time, to get over to the window and maybe get some of those into your account.